psychology. However, the author does a great job of making us think. And if that's what a book does, then read it, share it, and enjoy it. That's what I say. And I did want to say that my son said he would go to his grave having never read a book. But this is the book that was in his apartment, the only book. So I will treasure it always. I hope he read it, but his bookmark was only halfway through, so I'm not sure. But, so obviously it meant something to him as well. I don't want to spoil the story because not everyone raised their hands, so I'll just give you a little recap. There's a man named Mac, and he's carrying around what he calls the great sadness because he had a tragic loss in his life. And it's affecting his daily life and his relationships with his wife, his children, his church members, everyone. And one day he received a note inviting him to go to the shack to meet with Papa, which was the family name for God. And he reluctantly went. He did not tell his wife he was going. And there he met God, all three of them. He met the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. They were all there, looking different, acting different, relating to him differently, giving him different messages, and yet we're one. By the end of the weekend, Mac realized a lot about himself, his relationship, and he left the shack a changed man. I felt the author did a good job of allowing the reader, me, to realize a lot about myself and my relationships, and that's some of what I want to share with you today. So to help me gather my thoughts, first I wanted to show movie clips, but that wasn't going to work. We don't have good tech here. And then I'm like, I'll just bring pictures and PowerPoints were going to work, so now you just have to visualize, and I'll do what I can. So I had to have an acronym. I love literary gimmicks. I'm an English person. That's what I used to teach. I love words. I'm a word nerd, and I love acronyms. Some of the ones I've had in the past was SOAR, Step On and Respond, and that was our work camp for teenagers. QUACK, which was Queen of Apostles Catholic Kids Sunday School, and the kids love to say quack, quack, quack. So I had to come up with an acronym. So here's what I came up with. TRUST. Pretty original, right, for today? Trust. Okay. So I'm going to use those words to come up with an acronym for relationships. So on some of the tables, there's a paper. So if someone can find a yellow one, it's a big piece of paper. Has a T on it. But on the back is the first definition. So can you give that to us? Just read it out loud.
Treat with respect. Yeah, treat with respect.
Treat with respect. The first part of relationships. So, first I'll tell you a little bit from the shack and then relate it back. So, when Mac met God or Papa for the first time, he's totally surprised. He expected a bright light, a burning bush, or that old grandpa with the long white beard. That's not who greeted him. Does anyone remember who it was? A woman? What kind of woman?
African-American?
Yes. Big, roly-poly, fat African-American woman who ran over and hugged him and picked him up and spun him around. She said, my, how I do love you. And that's how he first met God. He also met the other two parts, but we'll talk about them in a little bit. So that was his first experience of God. And as they ate dinner together, the question of the chain of command came up. And Mac assumed that God was in charge, but he was questioning how well they all got along, and they all seemed to be equal. And the conversation steered toward the idea of mutual, R-E-S-P-E-C-T, right? We heard that song outside earlier. And it was explained, we are in a circle of relationship, not a chain of command. A relationship without any overlay of power. We don't need power over the other because we are always looking out for the best. And that was a quote from the book. So after that exchange, then I have to question my relationships. Do I treat others with respect? Do I truly think of everyone I know as an equal? Do I have or use power over those I know and love? Do I look for the positive things in my loved ones? Do I recognize what is best about them? Do I support them? Just questions I pondered after the story. Have you ever been around two people who really respect each other? You can see it in the way they look at each other, the way they laugh at each other's jokes, the tone of their voices, the way they help each other without being asked. The love, the love, the love. Seems like something we should all strive to achieve. Treating others with respect, something to work on. The second letter is on an orange sheet. Orange. It's an R. Reconcile. We already had a beautiful talk on forgiveness, but reconcile is one step more. It's not only forgiving, but it's forgetting, moving on. Let it go, let it go. See, I like to sing. Don't sing well, but I like to sing. So I just throw them in there, I'll just tell you. So, again in the shack, Mac's having another conversation with Papa about lies. And Papa tells him lies are unloving. Your lies become an inhibitor in relationships. You need to ask for forgiveness and let the forgiveness heal you. When you mess up again, ask for forgiveness again. Another point Papa said, it's a process, honey, and life is real enough without having to be obscured by lies. And in yet another point, he says, all I am telling you is that reconciliation is a two-way street, and I have done my part, totally, completely, and finally. It is not the nature of love to force a relationship, but it is the nature of love to open the way. All words of wisdom from the Papa. And these lines were all part of a long conversation. I just condensed it down for you. But so many pieces in those words make me reflect on how willing am I to forgive and forget, to reconcile. I'm very good at not letting go and holding grudges. And I dare say that most of us need to do better about saying, I'm sorry, or let's compromise, or it's okay. I'm good at saying those with my grandbabies, but not with everybody I know. But we all make mistakes. It's a simple thing to apologize. It's a simple thing to listen to other people's concerns. And it's a simple thing to accept others' apologies. Later on in the book, towards the end, as Mac is dealing with his great sadness, Papa talks to him about forgiveness. And he says, forgiveness does not establish relationship. In Jesus, I have forgiven all humans for their sins against me, but only some choose relationship. Don't you see that forgiveness is an incredible power, a power Jesus gives to all he indwells so that reconciliation can grow. Forgiveness is first for you, the forgiver, to release you from something that will eat you alive, that will destroy your joy and your ability to love fully and openly. Unless people speak the truth about what they have done and change their mind and behavior, the relationship of trust is not possible. And because of my presence, that is the only way true forgiveness is ever possible. Again, those were many conversations. I just pulled out pieces. But God was telling Mac, or me, or you, that he needed to forgive the man who had caused him such pain. That the great sadness would not and could not go away as long as Mac was allowing it to control his life. We all may have some pain that's allowing us to be angry, or dwell on a loss, or prevent us from love. But we need to reconcile. The third letter is on a red piece of paper, and it's a U.
Unconditional.
Unconditional. Very powerful word. And I think of it as, maybe I messed up my papers. Now I'm a mess. I would say it's unconditional acceptance, an unconditional affirmation are all part of that. And I really did lose that piece of paper, so I guess I'm going to be making this part up. Oh wait, found it. Okay. I'm too fast. All right. Let's see. No, that is not it. All right. So, how can we have unconditional acceptance? We have to accept people for who they are, not make them what we want them to be. And so Mac discovered that in this book, that God was not who he thought he was, especially when the fact that he met this woman. He thought God was the Father. And so when he asked God about that, God said, you weren't ready for a father. Because it turns out Mac did not have a good relationship with his father, so God appeared as a mother.
Wow.
And later on as his father. So he accepted Mac where he was and appeared as he needed him to be. And he affirmed Mac many times throughout the story that it's okay, you can be sad. It's okay, you can laugh. It's okay, you can carry on. And he just affirmed him time after time, and all the different people did. And I just thought that was a very cool way for us, again, to remember that. And I'm just freaking out because my papers are not in order, I'm just telling you.
You're doing a great job.
Got it, crazy. Okay. Let me look one more time. All right, so back to the shack. When Mac noticed a person coming out of the shack, he sees a Middle Eastern man dressed like a laborer, with a tool belt and gloves, wearing blue jeans and a plaid shirt. He was not really handsome, but had a smile that lit up his face. Mac was confused and didn't know what to do, and he said, I am Jesus. And it was not again who Mac was expecting. And after dinner, when Papa announced it was time for devotion, Jesus took her hands, Papa's hands, kissed them, and looking deep into her eyes, he prayed, Papa, I loved watching you today as you made yourself fully available to take Mac's pain into yourself and then give him space to choose his own timing. You honored him and you honored me. To listen to you whisper love and claim into his heart was truly incredible. What a joy to watch you. I love being your son. Well, Mac was in awe. To be in the presence of such love was something that he couldn't understand, but he felt good. What was he witnessing? Something simple, warm, intimate, and genuine. This was holy. And that was just one example, again, of that devotion, that unconditional love that Mac experienced. And that simple act of devotion reminds me to appreciate and what I like about people, and to thank them and to praise them. And don't ask or demand. It reminded me to accept. We all have different opinions and thoughts, and I'll tell you, my husband never matches mine, but I tell him his opinion is valued, and his gifts and talents are, welcome, and I try and be positive to him, right? And to understand his feelings and emotions and interests. And by the way, I did not tell him I was using him as an example, so don't mention it. And Jesus' act of love and devotion reminds me to affirm others. To say, good job. You look pretty today. I like what you did. That outfit looks good, right? That was a good choice. All words that are so easy to say and yet don't flow freely from my mouth. And this reminded me of a Bible study that I was in many years ago. And it was a group of women. We were called the Bad Girls. Remember me doing this, Sarah? This was in Ohio. And anyways, we were discussing white lies. And is it okay to tell somebody a little white lie? Or is it bad? And about that time, the priest, who used a walker, it was Father Breslin, a little feeble, came walking in because he checked up on everybody. And so we cornered him and like, is this a white lie? Is it okay if you tell someone they look good in outfit when they really don't? And he was like blown away, there's 15 women bombarding him. And I don't think he ever really answered us, but we had a great discussion. Unconditional, right? We always tell people you look good. Okay. So the next letter is, I forgot the color. Green paper? Yes. The S? Smile. Have you noticed I like to smile and joke and have fun? I think that's why Regina asked me to come today, right, Regina? The little comic relief. I was supposed to be the MC, and when she asked me, I'm like, should I watch Ellen? What do you want me to do to get ready for this? So, it's not surprising she bumped me from that. All right. So when Mac met the Holy Spirit for the first time, she appeared as a small Asian woman who took his face in both of her hands. Gradually, she moved her face closer and looked deep into his eyes. Then she smiled, and her scent seemed to wrap themselves around him and lift a huge weight off his shoulders. She hugged him without really hugging him, or without even really touching him. And God laughed and said, don't mind her, she has that effect on everybody. And that was his first meeting with spirit, the wind. Wouldn't that be a wonderful compliment for someone to say about you? That you have that effect on everybody, that they feel like they're being hugged and loved?